No,
Now,
I mean, like,
now, George, I
is that,
cannot
like,
touch somebody's flesh, but I don't want to do that anyways because of COVID. I had to say.
I just want to touch. I just want to touch Louis' flesh. I mean, like, I, not yours today. You're cranky. I
Timestamp 40 seconds for the start of this podcast.
I was wanting to talk about the cruise. Are we just going to get right into it?
Welcome to May the Zoo be with you. This is your weekly Flesh and Blood podcast. Sometimes we talk about My Hero Academia, the greatest card game ever invented. Coming out soon at Compete Sport.
I saw George actually selling My Hero Academia last week in our server, and I thought that was the greatest thing of all time. He was on a cruise selling My Hero Academia to my patrons.
That's how we do it. That's how we do. Gotta pay for that cruise somehow, baby. I am joined by, I'll go in order, Mitchell Murray, the man with all the singles for TOA. They're all like $20. Yes, buy one, get 5 special. Go ahead.
It's true.
Yeah,
it's true.
I know.
Buy one, get
Mitchell
5
Murray.
Majestics for $1.
Yeah, you can buy out his Majestics for $15. And
I actually sold all of them at $1 to $2, so that's accurate.
Yeah, Majestics to 1K. And
this is the
Louis.
single longest intro to any podcast ever.
Well, you guys keep interrupting. Then you wonder why it takes so long. And Louis DeGeorge, the man who will not stop interrupting the introduction, yet complains about it. Not great. Not great.
That's what I was waiting for my introduction.
I am George. I sell My Hero Academia and other products as well.
And other products. On the Flesh and Blood podcast.
Message me if you need some. I have 1,000 boxes.
Message me if you need some. I bought too many. I need My Hero Academia to actually sell so I don't go bankrupt.
I actually sold a lot of My Hero. I'll be honest. I'm going to be fine. I bet you I sold probably half of what I'm getting. The other half I'll sell in the store.
All right, we're not talking about My Hero Academia. What are we talking about today?
I thought this was a My Hero Academia podcast. That's how you got me
this
on.
is not. What are we talking about today on the podcast?
Wait, I'm sorry. This is the Metazoo podcast. I'm sorry. That's my fault.
No, only the comment section thinks that.
Yeah,
people who actually listen understand that it's a Flesh and Blood podcast.
Yeah, this is a My Hero Academia podcast. Okay, got it. So there was a release last week of a card game not called My Hero Academia, called Flesh and Blood, if you guys have heard of it. Yeah, and it was a set called, I believe, Kingdoms. And it buys James White.
He had a great vacation, guys.
That's all I know about it.
Such a good vacation.
It has a James White, right? What?
He got boats. I am still desperate to figure out how many boats James White has.
Yazzie hasn't told me. I gotta PM him. Yazzie, does James White have multiple boats? That's what we need to know.
Is it like impressive boats? Like, why was that the go-to? Like, there's a lot of things you can say there, but like,
all right, so we're talking about Tails release. We're going to talk about the Channel Fireball fight with LSS that we're calling a fight because
back to me. Thank you, Louis. Keep going.
Well, you're taking too long to tell the people, and then we're going to start talking about things. And then we're going to talk about where we think the market's going, and then George has a Metazoo minute.
Okay.
So we don't know about yet.
Start off with a hot take.
As long as it's not involving MHA, I'm down.
My Hero Academia to 1K.
Hot take.
Y'all can at me all you want. I'm sorry to my stores. I'm sorry to my investors. I'm sorry to my collectors. This was the best release in LSS history by a mile.
Yes.
And if you take away some games from distributors that are still going on, like you can still buy Tails.
Somehow it was allocated, but you can still buy Tails first.
Yeah.
Weird, right?
It's almost like they hoard product, but I don't know.
I think that is a healthy take based on the market. I don't think it's a healthy take based on like the card being banned. Like, are we just skipping over that? So, like, I know we talked about last week, but like, that's part of the release.
We soapboxed it.
I agree that the banning is a real problem for the set, but as for like the release of the boxes, it can't go a lot better than this, frankly.
Yeah, I agree. I 100% agree. You're muted, Mitch. Nobody knows what you're saying.
You're doing great.
F my life. I would say it felt like a normal release of a product, of a large TCG or like of a TCG. Everybody got their boxes. Stuff went out, and it was good.
Super healthy. I love it.
And like I know what Don talked about this on last week's live episode of Amazingness of opening boxes and nonsense.
I kind of want to do that again. By the way,
distributors rose prices the last second again. But like, listen, like again, if you take away some games from distributors, this was as good as it can get.
This is what you want. You want the ability for players who are currently playing to be able to get the product, first edition product. And that's for around MSRP, which 100. I think boxes are like 120 right now. Is that accurate? I haven't looked.
Yeah, they're holding pretty good
Monday.
at 120.
I think you'll see that dip down a little bit on Friday. As by the time this podcast is out, stores will have gotten their additional allocation this week, and you'll see another influx of 5-10% of the boxes. So we'll see a little dip, but
I think you're gonna see boxes at 90 to 100, and like that's completely good.
Yeah,
I agree. I don't know if we'll see that though. I'll be surprised if we see it by Friday.
I don't think it matters.
Boxes at 100.
I don't think the
$20
price.
is not
I
gonna
don't.
make a
I don't
huge
think the
difference.
price between $95 and $120 matters. The boxes aren't $500. The boxes aren't $300, and the boxes aren't what George was saying on the live stream that they would be $75.
Right.
So like, it's a very healthy place for the market. Players can get the cards that they want. If you want to invest and collect in the game, it's a decent price point for that.
Like, listen, if you're going to invest in TOA, I think that's great. I think that's fine. This is not financial advice. We're three morons. One of us looks good. The other two are cool because our hats are backwards. But like, you better be prepared to hold for a hot minute.
Yeah, I mean, we're headed into
will be
standard
very
TCGs.
surprised if these boxes are 300
2 years,
in 9 months.
Yeah,
2 years, I could see it doubling.
I agree.
I could see it doubling.
I
Maybe
think
in 2 years, maybe.
We don't know the print run.
Convinced.
We don't know the print run, which is more. What do you guys think? I kind of like the way that Metazoo does it, where you know the print run ahead of time. Would you guys like to see that in Flesh and Blood, as we're kind of in the middle of both releases?
I think for first edition, obviously.
Yeah, I would. I also like. I think they printed them. I think they printed a bajillion boxes of TOA.
That's the risk right now with investing, in my opinion, is that
absolutely
we don't know the Monarch print run. If we knew the Monarch print run, I would be
It could be 1K by now. Come on, James, help me out, baby. Make Monarch 1K, and I'll retire.
If we knew the Monarch print run was 70,000 or 60,000, if we knew that
50 to 60,
then it would be
it was 21,000. Just kidding.
If we knew the print run, I would say it's okay to start trying to pick up some TOA boxes. But they could honestly come out and say that Monarch print run was 100,000, and I would not be surprised. Like,
I would be shocked if it was 100,000. I think it's way more.
You think Monarch is way more?
Oh, Monarch? No, I'm sorry. I meant TOA. I thought you were talking about Tails.
I think I would not be surprised if we heard Monarch print run was 45,000, and I would not be surprised if we heard it was 100,000. Like, neither of those things would surprise me.
Please, Papa James, make it 45,000. Please, Papa James, make it 45,000.
If they come out and the Monarch print run was 100,000, that means TOA it's got to be 200,000. If that was their attitude printing Monarch, and they believe that the influx of stores and the influx of players sense Monarch, then you're going to see a 200,000 print run of TOA, and that's. I just don't think that the investors are there. The collectors and investors.
Are we thinking that every print run for first edition is just going to be 2 to 3x the previous print run?
No. And that's the question.
When do they take that off?
That's why the Monarch print run is the single most important statistic in all of Flesh and Blood right now, because that's going to tell.
Doing all I can to pump it up to 1K, Louis. I can do nothing more. You think
you're doing a lot. Rudy's got actual content on it, not just spamming Mon to 1K.
Rudy's actually buying boxes and drying up the market. What are you doing?
Buying boxes and drying up the market. What are you doing?
So you got George and Rudy buying boxes.
I'm helping you by reducing the number of suppliers.
When's the last time you cracked a Monarch first box?
I've not been restocking it.
I've noticed. Believe me, we've all noticed.
Hey, Louis, what's the best set to open right now to first editions? Is it Monarch?
No.
Okay, thank you.
It has to be.
That's all I need to know.
No, it does not have to be.
What's the best set to open?
Off the top of my head.
He's going to say Crew.
It's Crew. I honest to God think it. I think Crew is the closest.
Based on his calculator, it actually is.
I think Crew is the closest because the Majestics. I told you this a million times. It's less of a spike in Monarch. It's a spike. You know, the 1 in 4 boxes. The legendaries hold too much value in Monarch. The legendaries hold infinitely too much value in Monarch to make it worth it to open boxes.
Well, and it helps that there's lots of unlimited, but continue on.
When you crack open a box of Monarch and hit a cold foil Eclipse, which has now been not only not loved by the investors but now banned because
of seeds.
Of seeds, like it makes it hard to open up a box of Monarch.
Yeah,
and the EV isn't there.
James White did not help my Mondo 1K very much.
He did not.
He did not
actually, I think he did it just to spite you. He's like,
but for some reason,
Jane's great. I'm just gonna ban it so that way George doesn't get Mondo 1K.
Yet for some reason, my stupid butt is still able to buy Crucible for 600 right now, which is like
the market is not like the market.
I can't believe it's down to 600.
I can't believe I'm buying them.
We all know what's happening. All the excitement's on another game right now. Like all the investors have flooded into another game right now.
Have you guys done the Metazoo marketplace and then done the Flesh and Blood marketplace and sorted by your friends? Like I tried to add all the Flesh and Blood people, and the amount of people who I consider investors who are
it's where all the action is.
It is.
It's where all the action is. Like there's
eventually
all
that might come back to them.
There's like all the there's like this is we'll talk about this in Metazoo in a couple of minutes here, but like this is what Mike understands. If you do 35 drops a week, you get all the eyeballs.
I can't wait to talk about the Tops release. It just happened.
You get all the eyeballs
the Tops
if you're doing
right
25 releases a week. Everybody's always talking about something you're doing.
Yeah, Wallet fatigue might set in. I think the difference, though, I know the comment section will say wallet fatigue is going to set in, but I think the difference is they're going to do enough product that you're going to pick and choose. Like I'm probably not going to do the plushies. Like I don't want plush. Like I'll buy some for my kid.
All in
I'll
on the
buy
plushies.
some pins.
I'll buy
some pins.
I'll buy plushies. I'll try to get 2 or 3 of them to have plushies for Ava.
How is Little Monarch doing, by the way?
Little Monarch, Monarch George is doing great. She's great.
I will celebrate her 1,000th second alive, her 1,000th minute alive, her 1,000th day alive.
You weren't there for her 1,000th. You weren't there for her 1,000th hour.
Did you just become like the Godfather or something, or like what happened?
Yeah, George was supposed to be there for her birth, but he was not. Yeah, I don't know. I think like
a new shirt.
The release of Tales was super healthy if you are a player, especially if you look at
release.
If you look at first edition
and somebody selling it, I did fine.
If you look at first edition as a reward to the people who are playing the game at the current time, Tales was a fantastic release. If you look at it from a collector standpoint, it's a little bit of a bizarre release because you don't know when to buy in because you don't know the print run. I'm talking collecting. Like I don't have a cold foil Rams shield
if you're
because
for Tales, it doesn't matter when you buy in because like you're going to be holding it for years. So it does not matter if you buy it 100, 110 or 120.
I'm not talking about sealed. I'm talking about if you're looking to finish your collection. I mean, right now, if you let me finish, I
think legendaries have a way to go down. Well, I guess we'll skip to the third topic now. I think legendaries have a way to go down. Have some. I think legendaries have some downward pressure coming.
Yeah, I agree. There's still product.
It's going to take a lot of boxes, and
it's Wednesday
to push them.
It's Wednesday. There's still product going. Like I shipped out my product last week, and I'm sure some of it's still arriving like this week. So like, there's still product to be open. Yeah. But like that's where it's hard for a collector. And Monarch was the same way because it was way worse, honestly. For a collector, if you don't have the full set, it's like when do you buy that shield, right?
That's
like the shield. I don't know what to do with the shield because the market's saying that the shield's worth twice as much as any other legendary, and like I just don't see
it's not. It is actually, isn't it? Well, the artwork is what makes it so unique.
Yeah, I love it, but
that's great.
I'm not willing to pay twice the legendary rate right now.
You could not. You will not be finding me buying legendaries this week.
It's especially because we still don't know if Oldham's going to even be playable, right? Like you don't know if he's going to be one of the meta
People
heroes.
People are saying he's going to be S tier.
What does S tier mean, Mitch?
What? You've never heard of S tier?
For the people who don't know, what does S tier mean?
Is there in a world that nobody knows what S tier means?
Yes, 100%.
S tier,
I'm starting to think
B tier, C tier.
Oh, S tier is like the 0 tier?
S tier is like the top tier.
Oh, I always heard that as 0 tier. Yeah, 0, 1, 2, 3. 0 is like unbeatable. 1 is like the top of the meta.
Are you like a developer? Like I don't know anybody who used zeroed actually like, within their counting ecosystem.
I don't do a lot of
S
like
tier is top
following
tier.
the top metas because that's not my game.
That's
But
clear.
so they're saying Oldham's going to be S tier.
That's what I'm hearing, but we'll see.
So they said that about like lots of heroes in the past, and
Oh,
then
I know.
Chain was the.
They
F
said
tier.
about Prism as well, but you know she
RIP
only
Chain.
won.
Yeah, and all she did was win the calling.
That's it though.
Yeah, that's all.
Well,
Other
she
than
won the
that, it's
calling
been
though
really
because
well.
of Chain. She won it because of Chain though, because they built an entire deck to counter Chain. But it's fine. We'll move forward from here. It was extremely talented pilot. I'll just say that.
Yeah. Okay. So I don't know. I think where the market's going, I think all of them are crap. I think you're gonna
What's
see.
fun?
You're gonna see the
Altar's
shield
going
be
up.
the most expensive, but it's not gonna be. It's not gonna be the most expensive by 2x on the legendaries.
No,
I would agree.
There's no way.
I think it
There's no
should
way.
be closer. What's interesting though is seeing how much New Horizons going up. I mean, all the legendaries are like at the $200 mark right now.
You're gonna see.
and it makes no sense, right? Like I
This
got off
is
the
why.
boat.
Based on
first thing I
box
did-
prices, you're right.
The first thing I did was check the price of Monarch, obviously, and I noticed that it was not quite 1K yet.
The first
that
thing you
made me
probably
sad.
did was see a text from me saying Metazoo hit 1K before Monarch. I told you so.
I told you that was going to happen too.
No, you did not. We did
We
a
did
podcast.
agree. We
on
agreed
this
on it, and
episode.
George said, "Unfortunately, it's probably true."
Thank
No.
you. Thank you.
Go
Thank
back
you.
in the
Louis
history of
just
this
lies
podcast.
and hopes he can.
Episode 8.
People fall in line to
Episode
the
8.
slaughter.
Look at George's face when I said that Metazoo was going to be 1K before Monarch.
I was
Episode
crushed
8.
because it was true, not because I disagreed.
He did say
Yeah,
that.
okay.
I'm
Thank
crushed
you.
because I think it's gonna. Yeah. Anyways, we're not gonna
Yeah,
argue.
Louis
right now,
just
Mom and
lies.
Dad.
He's just
I
a
do.
liar.
He just has a poor memory. It's fine. He's doing
be
2
kind to others.
podcasts a day.
I
He's doing
think
2 videos a day. It's fine.
I think that the legendaries are going to be interesting. I think you're going to see Crown become the top card.
100%. 100%. Good
Crown
call.
of Seeds is the best legendary in the set.
Which is funny is
from
it's
playability
it's
standpoints.
the lowest price right now on TCG
Yep.
Player.
You're gonna see it go like this. I can't wait. And it's also used in Oldham.
I
So you're
agree.
gonna see it. You're gonna see it go like that. Like it's gonna be so much
Wow.
fun. Like
Louis
this
and I
is,
agree. This is
this
sad.
is why I do the market
mean, like,
updates so I can show
guys
everybody how
agreed
wrong the
on
market is.
Metazoo hitting 1K before Monarch.
Hey,
I
You can get a Fable at 500 though. Just saying,
the
450,
and the
500.
Fable has room to go down. Calling it right now. The Fable's $400.
I agree.
It's exciting.
Yeah,
I still haven't
unless you
opened
have a
one,
single
and
store.
I am way
Um,
further into boxes
what?
than you guys are. I
What?
still have not opened them.
What?
I'm over 100 boxes in.
James White hates you.
Oh my gosh.
As soon as I open it, you guys know you're gonna be the first ones to know. I've opened 2 Altarts in 100 boxes. I've opened all
You
the
haven't opened a
legendaries.
Fable yet?
I've only
Alright.
I've opened 1 Rampart in 100 boxes.
So, I will
I've
say
opened
this.
Okay.
I think you said this was a
two
great release.
Altarts.
I think it
but,
was a
like-
great release. I will warn the collation is still not right.
If what Mitch said right now is if he's not bamboozling us live,
I'm
on
not
the
bamboozling you
podcast.
guys.
Because
So
I saw somebody who pulled 3 Ramparts in 2 cases.
I'm aware. I'm letting you know that the collation is probably still not great.
So I had a customer, I had a customer, my one customer, come in and bought 2 cases of Tails. Not only did he get no legendary in those 2 cases, his hits were basically identical for the 2 cases he bought. They were right next to each
Right.
other.
Right.
That's a like, I mean, like, you know, and I feel
If you
bad
get
about this. 'cause,
sequential
like, you
cases,
talk about how
it
great the
hurts.
release was, but like that's a problem. That's like, listen, he's asked
It
me
was
to email
better than
LSS
last
about it.
one.
Yeah, it's way better than last set.
I mean,
Monarch
yeah,
was horrible.
We knew somebody who opened 10 cases that were non-sequential from all different places and didn't open 1 legendary.
Yeah.
We're not seeing that.
No,
But
I mean,
I have
I'll be
opened
honest,
cases
like-
that are legendary lists. I opened one last night.
I
Now,
think we've
granted,
only-
it had cold foil weapons. It had a cold foil like channel, like not channel.
I think we've only had 2
pulse.
shields pulled in my store.
That's what I'm telling you. I mean, I'm not gonna say short printed, but
There's no way that they can short print the shield.
guys,
no way.
I'm just trolling you.
Okay,
I'm
well,
not
you
being
seemed serious about it in the group chat. To be fair, you seemed very serious about it multiple times
In a
in the
group chat, whenever I'm using words, you know how serious I'm being.
Unfortunately, there's plenty of people who actually believe that, and if they short printed a key legendary to the key set without printing unlimited, then I'm very disappointed in them, and I do not think that they would
Are
have
we
done
talking about unlimited today?
that. What are we going to talk about? Like that they
Well,
They haven't made a release date, but distribution saying that it's November 19th.
Well, yeah, we're also hearing that it's coming in skirmishes, or Unlimited's going to be in skirmish, but we're hearing that there's no release date. So are they just going to use Unlimited for skirmishes, which would be totally fine, actually?
The skirmish FAQ says they're using Unlimited in skirmishes, but rumor is that they are not doing orders yet before skirmish. But November 19th is what I've heard from distributors too.
Right.
I do not think that we are ready for.
We're not supposed to. We're not ready for Unlimited.
I don't know. It's all speculation.
I've had multiple people reach out to me and says, Mitch, are they really doing Unlimited in November?
Yeah.
I know so many stories.
I know this is a hot take. I know you two idiots disagree. They should do Unlimited in November, no question. Like,
who's gonna buy it, George?
People who want Unlimited.
People who don't want to spend $400 on the shield.
Buy $100 a box.
Bingo. Say it more times for the people in the back, Louie.
People who don't want to spend $400 on the shield.
Like, this is what drives me crazy. The comparative advantage of LSS is exactly one thing. They have a better game. If you want to have a better game, you have to give the people the pieces to play the better game.
George,
it is that simple. And
you just said first edition would be $90 in 2 weeks, below MSRP, and you get collectible cards in it. That means that the Rampart head will be $100.
It won't be November 19th.
God, I missed you, Mitch.
Jeez. Like you're saying that it's gonna bottom out.
It's gonna bottom out at 90. And I think it's still good bottom out at 90.
So first edition is gonna be dirt cheap and Unlimited's gonna be cheaper.
Yes,
be completely valueless.
That's the point of Unlimited, is that it's cheaper. That's
there has to have value, George, or nobody's gonna buy.
Nobody cares. Nobody cares. How much is an EV in a box of Monarch Unlimited right now? $15 and the change in your cushion. It's still
and who's buying Monarch Unlimited? Nobody's buying it. It's sitting in distribution.
Distributors, boo-boo. I'd recheck if I were you.
Lots of people are buying it on Channel Fireball. Big eBay account.
Yeah, because you can wait for like $10 a box.
Like at the end of the day, like I have no problem selling Monarch Unlimited. I know a lot of stores don't have any problem selling Monarch Unlimited.
So this comes back to two things.
Like,
Number one,
LSS wants to be, if LSS's thing is I'm going to have the best card game, you have to give the people the pieces to play the best card game. That's the deal. That's the deal.
I think there's a middle ground between the two of you. I think you have to have Unlimited come out for sealed. I just don't think you're going to have the product in. Like George comes from a store that does a lot of sealed, a lot of draft. We are also pushing draft and skirmish season this year. So like I think you have to have Unlimited come out for that purpose. Where the bottleneck is, I think, is because you're not going to see people buying Unlimited to open, like Mitch is talking about, to sell singles or to open for fun to sell singles. Like a lot of people like me, like I would open a box, take the cards I want, and then sell the singles. You're not going to see a lot of that if boxes are $76 or map for Unlimited and $90 for first edition. You're not going to see that. $100 for first edition. Most people are going to choose the first edition path. But the issue is because you don't see that happen, because people are not going to buy Unlimited to get the singles, you're going to see less Unlimited singles like we currently see for Monarch. There is 50% less Monarch Unlimited legendaries on the market than there are Monarch first edition legendaries.
But it's still cheaper is the point.
Right. But the price isn't tanking to $20 a legendary because nobody's buying the product to open.
Right. Unlimited, like I will say it again.
This is
if
where
you want people to play the game, you got to give them the pieces.
I feel like I'm Mitch.
I feel like
even
I'm
at $120 a box, that's almost $50, $45 more than map.
Yeah.
We could see prices drop by 50% if they had Unlimited out.
Yeah.
That's good terrifying. If you want people playing the game. Right. It's that simple.
I do think that's going to affect the prices of limited or legendaries metric ton.
And like this is why
in a negative way, not a positive way.
My position hasn't changed. I think LSS has a problem. I don't think you can have a healthy player and collector market.
The solution to their current problem is not to solve it right now with Tails. It's to solve it for the next set.
Yeah, don't worry about this set. Give
I'm
the
not
people
disagreeing
the
with you.
I am team LSS on this. Release that sucker November 19th. Tank these prices and let the people play the game.
Yep.
Mondo 1K.
And then I'll go out of business in the meantime, and we'll be fine.
That's
Nick,
probably
I'm
gonna
sorry,
happen.
but like it's not
No,
our job to keep you in business, boss. Like
I
at the end of the day,
understand. I'm just letting you know that there's not a viable secondary market for an actual business.
there
to sell
is if
singles.
you don't have
There
a
is
store
if you're
around it.
selling sealed. There's
You'll
not
be
a
fine.
viable market though.
You'll be fine.
for-
Didn't you just become an
Oh,
official
I
Metazoo
know I'll
retailer?
be fine. I'll just go sell Metazoo and it'll be fine. And I am official Metazoo retailer now, so it's fine.
You'll be fine. You'll
I'll be fine. But we'll
I
all
am
be
also
propped up
I'm
by
also an official
Metazoo.
Metazoo retailer.
This is
Well,
the
I'm
depression
an
in this
online
podcast.
retailer. Yeah, I mean, the fact of the matter is diversification is king, right?
Yeah.
Like we wouldn't be living here if there were no other TCGs.
That's
And
why the
key
podcast
to
is called
any
Metazoo
hobby
with you.
store. That's not why it's called that.
And my
but it's
next
fine.
podcast is going to
But
call
hold
The
on. Nick just
Gathering.
gave some terrible advice. That is not the key to a successful hobby store to diversify. It is to actually do the opposite of that and focus on a few games that you become really
George,
good at that your competitors
Okay,
don't.
you just support Flesh and Blood and tell me how it goes.
And My Hero Academia, and Metazoo, and D-Spirit.
Yeah,
and
how many
this,
games do you
and
have that
that.
you're supporting right now?
I have Magic. I have Flesh and Blood. That's all I have for weekly competitions.
How many games are you currently supporting in store for people to purchase?
Oh, I have no idea.
My point exactly.
I have no idea.
I
But
love
like,
George, you
the key to a good
diversify.
game store is not to support 8,000 games. Is to
I
support
didn't
like
say
two.
support
Okay.
8,000, but
All right.
you're still
Hey-
diversifying. You're not
hey, Honey
supporting one
Boo-Boos,
game. You're
Honey
supporting two.
Boo-Boos, Honey Boo-Boos, settle down. It's going to be okay. We're all going to survive.
I'm not
All
mad.
right, we're all going to
I'm
survive.
not even mad if I have a full-time job. I'm not mad if the Midtown Merchant goes away. What I'm saying is that
Oh,
You know
Jesus.
who should be mad if the Midtown Merchant goes away is the community, because you have done a great job at keeping prices down when they needed it, and it's sad that might happen. Like, that's sad that
like
that's a truth.
that's all I'm saying is like it's not. It is so much work to do this that it's just like not viable. And that's fine. It'll be sad, but like my world will not end. I did not quit my day job to do the Midtown Merchant.
R.I.P. Louis.
Look, man, I'm
Hey,
good. I'm good. I'm happy.
Metazoo.
I can go work at Chick-fil-A if I want.
It's true. We're all good. I know
I'm
George
good.
actually would enjoy that life.
The any content is good content. That's why I try to be an honest content creator.
And that's what I'm just trying to keep it real.
Like,
It's not a viable business model right now, based on the current infrastructure.
band video
And that's
that I did.
okay.
I think
I'm here for the
Flesh and Blood
players.
releases will look like Magic releases.
Yeah, that's 100% what's gonna happen.
Like
You mean
if
like
you want to
they
sell
did like
singles
this
for
whole
Magic,
thing and then
you
do
have
this
to
and
you have
this.
to crack boxes the week before release and sell them on release day.
You're absolutely right.
That's the only way to
like-
make money.
That's a TCG.
Right,
And
that's
that's
the
fine.
only way to sell singles in Magic and make money.
I'm
Yep.
just saying I'm only going to do that
buy
in the first
or
edition.
buy collections after release. You buy collections,
Yeah.
and you pay 50 cents on the dollar for collections.
I don't do
And-
singles. There's a reason.
Well, yeah. That's how George and I met. He's like, I don't do singles. You do
I don't do
singles. You want
singles.
to talk? And I was like, yeah, it's a viable business model right now. And then months later, like,
Whoops.
don't do it.
Like this is the future of Fab. Like I don't think there's any
I don't-
discuss. Like there's no question about
I
that.
don't disagree with you. And
I'm not saying you are disagreeing. Just so we're clear.
No, yeah, no, we've just been going back and forth. I don't disagree with you. All I'm saying is I think that the future is players, and that's the whole reason I opened it. And if there's enough support for players that I don't have to have my store open, then that's fine. Does it make sense? Like
I think like
I
listen,
opened
think
the store when
single
Alpha
stores
was
are
king.
Super valuable when boxes are super expensive.
Yes,
And boxes aren't going to be super expensive in the future.
exactly, and that's okay. Like
So-
I'm totally fine with this market. I'm just there's
This seems like a
consequences
good
to it.
time to transition into talking about where the market's going to go. You guys agree?
I thought that's what we were just doing.
Oh, I didn't realize we had moved on. I have something to say then. I think that
This is a disaster of a podcast.
it's
Continue.
not.
Louis.
This is a great podcast. So
I
far.
actually feel like
disaster.
it's going well. Go
Yeah,
ahead.
You just aren't used to not everybody disagreeing with you. So I think that
It's true.
I think that we're saying we're in a player's market. This is my timeline. If we don't re-enter a more balanced market, I'm not saying it has to go all collectors. I don't think the players are going anywhere. So if we don't enter a more balanced market by the end of the year, by like getting through Christmas, that's when I start saying, when will the collectors ever come back? Why are you shaking your head, George?
I don't think they're coming back by December.
Then when are they coming back?
I think you're talking years.
What does it take for one of the people who were all right, so people like me are probably still around. People who were buying, legendaries, cold foil commons for $400-$500. That person. When is the $40,000 heart people coming back?
I don't think they left. They're not selling. Right, like you're not seeing 200 hearts, mainly because Rudy says there's only 100 hearts.
Yeah, there's not 200 of them. There's only 105.
Right, there's only 100 of them according to Rudy. God, I love you, Rudy. He's also speaking truth to power. Heart to 500,000.
He also said people were pre-ordering tails at 600.
Whoops. I mean, like, I think you're talking years, Louis. I don't think you're talking. I don't think you're talking months. I will be very surprised if we're talking in 2 months and we have hearts back to $35,000 raw. Maybe a 9.5 heart today is worth $25,000, maybe more.
Mm-hmm.
But I think you're in that ballpark for a 9.5. I don't think maybe it's worth 30 by the end of the year. Like there's not a lot of and like, let me be clear, like I'm not convinced you could sell a 9.5 heart today.
And in order for that to happen, you need new blood coming in to the collector side of it.
Yeah, and like the problem is like, and this is what we talked about. If LSS and the collector market needs real player growth, it needs drastic player growth, and I think that's possible. I think some of these kinks need to be worked out though.
I think we have player growth.
Say it again.
I think we have player growth.
But you don't have rapid player growth.
What is rapid player growth? You want 2xing every month? Because I think that's your mindset. I think we're probably seeing 10 to 15% increase since the release of Monarch, another 25%.
Yeah, I think that's right. But like 10% in 4 months for a new game doesn't cut it. Yeah. If so, like that's fine. No, it's like you're not going to see a lot of collectors come in.
I think we saw a ton of rapid growth around
Monarch.
When you came in, Louis, around crew time. Actually,
yeah.
I would say before that, between crew and Monarch is when we saw probably the most rapid growth.
By far.
And I think after Monarch, everything was deflated and we actually saw a huge exodus of people. But I would argue, I actually kind of had an epiphany. I think the people that left were investors and those who were flipping the game for money.
Sure. Mm-hmm.
And so I'm wondering how many of those people were in there were actually being counted as players. When in reality, they were just people just trying to be there to flip product.
I have a store near me who still has a gem account and they have not sold Fab in 3 months.
Right.
That's a gem account as a Fab store.
Yep.
Right. That has players registered under it.
And they have players registered to their store, and that's fine.
Right.
I mean, every game does that. Every game does that. There's nothing against LSS. Every game in the universe does that.
Right.
I think if you want to see collectors get pumped again, I think you got to see some really rapid player growth, and that's not happening right now.
It's a tough. It's a really tough metric.
That's the problem, right? You need excitement, and the people who are excited about Tails are those that were excited 3 months ago about Tails.
Well, and I would argue that the retailers are not excited about Tails if Unlimited's on the horizon because there's not a financial. George, if you are to support 1 or 2 games and you already support 2 games, you're going to have to get rid of one probably, right?
Yep.
And if the margins are identical to your existing player base, then why wouldn't you just continue supporting your existing player base?
I have said for months now on this podcast that LSS has a problem with margins on their boxes.
Right.
But I think there's ways around it other than delaying Unlimited.
I don't disagree with you.
I want to comment that. I don't think the LSS has a problem on margins of their boxes if you are able to sell boxes at map.
If I have pixie dust, I can fly. It doesn't matter.
Well, the problem then is the map pricing policy and the way that they're doing other things. I think the margins that they intend is accurate. I think that the way that things are working and the way that the market is going and the exclusive promos and the channel fireball selling on eBay, like all that stuff is affecting the ability for stores to be excited about carrying the game. That's a huge point.
You also have distributors playing games with prices on the front. The problem is the stores are getting squeezed on both sides, right?
Yes.
100%
We're getting squeezed by distribution on first edition, and we have Channel Fireball dumping every box of Unlimited they can get their little hands on.
I do not. My point is that I do not think when they created the system, I don't believe that was their intention. I believe that their intention is that you are able to make more profit and be able to. But the question is, are they able to fulfill their intention or not? And that right now they are not fulfilling their intention with Unlimited. That's for sure.
Clear about this. I mean, like, it is my second lowest profit margin box at this point. I make more money on Pokemon. I make more money on Magic. I'll be honest.
We're talking about player growth. We're talking about player growth, and this is what I'm saying could be an attribution to a stagnation or maybe not as rapid player growth because it's not advantageous for me as a store to carry this product or as advantageous as other TCGs that I can support.
So I talk to a lot of new people, new players. I see a lot of interactions with people who are interested in Fab. A lot of people send me messages. One of a couple of things I've gotten in the last couple of weeks is that Tales of Aria is the most beautiful product they've ever seen. And there are non-Flesh and Blood players 2 weeks ago who bought Tales of Aria because they think the product is really beautiful. The packaging, they're buying one box to keep, another box to open because they're interested in the game. There's a lot of that going on. And additionally, though, I think one of the biggest arguments that I've seen is the ability to find a location to play, number one, and which is a lot of what you guys are saying. But number two, the idea of what is the entry level game. And I honestly was really excited for Skirmish season because I really believe that Skirmish, if you look back on like Crucible of Wartime, the first Skirmish season was the biggest influx of players we have ever seen, in my opinion. I don't have statistics, but based on my channel and talking to people, the Skirmish season, the original Skirmish season, was the biggest influx of players ever to Flesh and Blood. It was all online and it was Blitz, right? And I was really excited for this Skirmish season because I really thought that was going to be the way that things went. But then they took the skirmishes and put them mostly in store, and they are now doing draft. And like, this is the type of thing that I think is a miss. Like, I think it's awesome. Tales of Aria is an incredible draft experience. But if you are a new player, look, I did a draft with 4 new players in Vegas in the content creator thing. 2 of the other content creators had never played. They had played a little bit of Flesh and Blood, but they had never actually really played like actual Flesh and Blood.
What content are they creating?
They were the cosplayers. And they like
I'm gonna be a cosplayer next year.
Listen, we had to teach them how to play.
George, you will be cosplaying George.
Let me finish. We had to teach them how to play, and that's fine. Like, I thought it was really cool. It's a really great experience to do that. But teaching somebody how to play Flesh and Blood while drafting Flesh and Blood is not a win. Like, that's not a win. You can't.
Hard.
The right way to teach people, new players, how to play this game is to play Blitz, to use one of the Blitz decks. That's the best way to welcome new players. And by doing Skirmish season and limiting it to draft, I think that's a mistake. Like, I think you're missing the point of what Skirmish was. And then I additionally think that online, there is a huge group of people who still do not have a local game store to play at locally. I know we're in 2,000 stores, and that's amazing. That's awesome. But like, where are there 2,000 events going on? Are there 2,000 events every week going on? I don't know about that. And I think like it's hard to find a place. And by allowing things to be happening online and by pushing things online, you're welcoming more players. And I know we're in the Flesh and Blood, but we're also still in the middle of a pandemic, and that's still, in my opinion, the best way to get new players in.
Right.
So because of those things, let me finalize what I was trying to point. The player growth has not been rapidly increasing like it was 3 months ago, 4 months ago. And I think it's because we moved to focus on Classic Constructed. The Armory events locally and online have been less new player oriented and more current player oriented. I think that's a mistake. George, you're not complaining.
I guess I don't. I think some of what you said is true. I think this goes back to I think the biggest issue is that I think LSS is trying to figure out what they want to be when they grow up, and it's probably time to make those decisions. Frankly,
yeah.
You can't be a game that's focused on in the flesh and blood and be like, oh, I'm also I'm going to do skirmishes online. You got to pick. No, that's not what in the flesh and blood means.
And
listen,
just
I'm
because
not
you do
saying
something
it has
online
to be
doesn't
in the
mean that
flesh and blood.
But
I'm
just because you do something online doesn't mean that you throw away the idea that you intend to be a game that's played in the flesh and blood. You can do both things. They did both things.
I would argue that even playing on webcam is actually kind of playing in the flesh and blood. Like you're not playing on it. You're not playing on a video game. You're interacting with somebody in their skin.
Completely agree.
No,
now,
I mean
now, George, I cannot touch somebody's flesh, but I don't want to do that anyways because of COVID. I had to say.
I just want to touch Louis' flesh. I mean, I not yours today. You're cranky. I
timestamp 40 seconds for the start of this podcast.
I think put the lotion on the skin. Go ahead.
I think LSS just needs to figure out if they want to focus on online or in person. And I mean this. I honestly don't care which way they pick. This is not a hill I'm going to die on. I don't care. But I don't think you can focus on both effectively.
I disagree. I disagree with you.
They're not big enough. They're not big enough to deal with both.
The comment section is going to be on George's side, but I think
they know what's up. They know who's right.
Listen, everyone, the whole play in the flesh and blood thing it's a great attitude to have. It's a great PR statement. It's a great intention. It's awesome, but it is 2021 and there are people who want to learn how to play the game, and there are ways to do that online, and that's healthy.
Louis,
George,
when they called me about carrying this game, their sales pitch to George was, we're going to help the local game store.
Yeah, 100%.
Your online event is wonderful. It does not help the local game store.
Yes, it does.
It does, George. If you have a Discord for your store and you host
that's a point, but not the point I'm trying to make. It does help if people who do not have a store locally, who will not support the game, have a place to learn how to play the game, to experience the game, and then go to their local game store and say, I will run the tournament. I will do this. Get in. I can't tell you how many people play on my.
They can. I'm not opposed. I'm not saying they should not allow online events. Let me be very clear here. That's fine with me. But I do think the more events you push online, why are they going to buy box if the focus is on online play? Why would they possibly buy from me and not Channel Fireball?
I don't think the focus is on online play.
That's my point.
I can't tell you. I probably have 10 messages of people who played in my events, learned how to play the game. Their first event was in my event online. Then they went to their local game store, and now they play at their local game store, who did not support Flesh and Blood 6 months ago. But now their local game store does local
evangelist.
Because their local game store isn't going to take the time to learn how to play a new game. But if somebody says, "Hey, I'll teach everybody how to play," now all of a sudden you have an opportunity to learn how to play.
I will also say, playing in person is the pinnacle of play for Flesh and Blood. I personally am not disagreeing with that. I would much rather prefer to play in person, but I have to get my kid down at 8 p.m. Louis' Army event can start at 8:30, 9 o'clock, and I can do both. I can't do both right now with my current way of living because of children, because of life. And so it allows me to do both. I would much rather play in person.
I don't.
Right. And all I'm saying is, I'm not saying they have to do both well, but I think that if there's an option of, hey, we would love to be able to give you a skirmish. It can be online or in person, and it's only for game stores, and they can choose what they feel is best for their store. It's the store's decision, though.
I don't think doing both makes any sense. I think you got this is what I'm saying. It doesn't matter to me what you pick. It doesn't matter to me what.
Why does it matter for LSS?
They're not having to do anything because this isn't be where they put their focus, and they need to put their focus on either in-store or online play. I don't think they have enough staff to do both.
What are they doing
focuses at the same time?
What are the staff having to do to allocate resources for the skirmish season? What difference does it make if I do it online or in person?
You're going to select stores that are good at in-store or online play. Listen, if they're going online, Compete
Don't
sport
choose
should never be
George's
picked.
store. I think that what I'm
I'm
saying
not
is
good at that.
I'm not
George,
saying
you're
that
hearing it
they choose stores based on that.
I have to have my wife turn on my computer. I don't know how to do this.
You're hearing it wrong,
George. I'm saying you assign stores the exact same number of stores today. Don't change the list. The list is exactly the same.
Okay.
And you said, hey guys, you can do this through Discord, your own personal Discord that we don't have any context to, or you can do this in store. We recommend in store because we feel like that is the best way to play this game. But if you have the difference in having 6 players versus 24 players, so be it. You could even have, if you're just like a crazy store, George, how many computers do you have in your store? What, like 30 of them?
Yeah, a little more than that, but yeah.
Okay, buy like 5 or 6 really shitty webcams. Sorry. Feel free to edit that out. But
you can say whatever you want on my channel.
All right, I don't want to get you defunded.
I think
all I'm saying is you could buy some webcams and you could do it both online and in store.
So
Go crazy.
Here's my argument. This is my stance here.
That's what I would
do. George is trying to say that it's hard to do online. It's a different thing. It's a completely different thing. And there are resources. And I will say that one of the issues with the online skirmishes is that you had stores doing 180 person online skirmishes, and it was too many people and not enough prize support, and the waits were too long, and everybody was upset. So there is a balance to this.
That's fair.
Needs to, like for
and
me, my online skirmish, I limited to I think 55 players or something like that. Like
I had 64 in mine, thanks to Ken, by the way. Big shout out to Ken, 420. Great. He did great in my online skirmish. He killed it. Big player, Ken. Shout out to Ken. Greatest compete sport player. Continually.
My point is that I think that there is a middle ground that needs to happen. Now, this is just Louis' opinion. I'm obviously biased. Like I'm obviously biased on this, but I have seen a ton of people come into this game because of online, and I hate the idea of limiting their ability to continue to play the game if their local game store doesn't include this. I know how the story goes. I know how the story ends. We're gonna see a limit to online play in a couple weeks, in a couple months. I know how the story ends. And I know that there's going to be players whose local store does not pick it up, and without online play, they're going to leave the game. And any single one person who walks away from Flesh and Blood is a mistake to me. Like that is a loss on LSS.
Let me be very clear here. I would not support a limit to online play. I would not support that.
Okay.
You're saying that they're doing nothing wrong. Louis doing nothing wrong. If
no.
Online play,
like,
let him do
well,
online
Louis
play.
doing a lot wrong. That's not my argument. Like my argument is not
the online
that
play is what he
wrong.
does the best.
I have no problem with online play. I don't. I really, really don't. I support it. Louis did my skirmish for me because I don't know how to turn on a computer. Season 1, I think Ken won because he did so well in my skirmish because he's such a big player at compete sport. I think that's right. Help me out in the comment section, Ken, if I'm right or wrong. You know, I have no problem. Like, if they were to say we're banning online play, Louis, I'd have your back. I'd have your back 110%. That would be a big mistake. I do think that, like, if you want the focus to be in-person play, skirmishes need to be in person. And hold on one second. Hold on, boo-boo. But I will once again restate that I am completely agnostic to the fact of it being online or in person, if that's where their focus is. If they're like, we want to grow player base rapidly, easy for me to say 3 times fast. Online is far easier to grow the game. Far easier. But if they want to make it an LGS experience, it needs to be in the LGS. This isn't hard to make.
Fair. I think you only focused on the online part, and I still think that the online part for skirmishes, I think you can brand skirmish as online, and you have Road to Nationals. You have another type of attitude that's a local thing. If a store wants to do a skirmish, they can sign up to do a skirmish, and they can host an online skirmish. If a store wants to do a some other blitz thing that's going on in store, that's a great thing. I think having an online thing is important. Now, this is the heart of what I was saying at the beginning of this conversation, was that they have made it harder for new players to get involved in this skirmish season. One of those things was online. Another thing is draft. And like, draft is not, it's great. The draft experience is the greatest draft experience in Tales of Aria. It's the greatest draft experience I've ever seen. That being said, It's not the best.
You have to know the game in order to play it.
You have to know the game.
I think you guys are misreading this. I'll be honest. I think, either I am or you two bozos are. I don't think they view skirmish as a way to bring in new players.
Yeah, that's probably fair.
I think that's a flawed perspective, though.
I think if you look at the history of skirmish, though, the historical avenue of the skirmishes have brought in the most new players. The first skirmish season,
I have no idea if that's true, but I mean, like,
I can tell you it's 100% true for the first skirmish season. 100%.
I mean, like, that was also at the start of COVID, and like everybody was like, I have an idea. Let's cash out my 401k and put it into cold foils.
Crucible War.
That's true, actually.
Like,
well, I'm gonna go buy a house now and sell all my cold foils.
It's hope you like a shack.
Well, back in the day, that was the choice.
It was a different time. Like, I have no idea what it would be like today. Like, I don't know. Like, I don't know. But like, I don't think they view skirmish as a way to grow player base. I think they view it as a way for the current player base to compete. I could be dead wrong. That's just the way I've always understood.
That's probably true. That's probably true. My attitude towards everything is always new player focus, and that's probably an issue. Like I'm always like
towards My Hero Academia to 1K.
My attitude is always, how does this feel for a new player? And like, I just feel like we missed that mark, but maybe that's not the mark that they were trying to hit, which is fair.
I don't think that's how they view skirmish.
That's fair. All right, we can move on.
I think I am like actually most curious, and I think I asked this in a group chat. I am genuinely curious, and this is like an unbiased question. I just don't want to know where they're at. What are you pointing at?
That square right there could be an LSS employee. Right there, they could be talking to us.
Come on, James White.
Come on.
Nice, I promise.
So my question:
you've only been asked 3 times.
How many boats do you own?
Yeah, first question: how many boats do you own?
I don't care about the boats, even though Yazi brings up a very valid point.
Oh, you care about the boats, don't you?
I don't care about it. My level of this is your level of care. I'm way down here, about 5 notches below. I have interest.
Have you guys watched the Squid Games yet?
I've been wanting to.
The whole time I was watching it, I mean, I was like kind of curious on what the end was going to be, but more importantly, the whole time I was just like, how many boats does James White own the entire time? I couldn't focus on any of the plot points because I was just
Yazi.
like, I gotta know, Yazi, how many boats does James White own?
You got boats.
You got boats. We spend our paycheck on this stuff.
It's the best.
We gotta like always have that GIF ready. I'm just saying we need to make a GIF.
Go ahead.
Hold on. Don't correct me on that one. 2 questions. I generally want to know how they feel the organization is going. How are you guys feeling the game growth is going? Like, how do you feel about it? Right. I want a genuine answer. I don't want them to lie to me like Louis wants. I want a genuine answer.
Lie to me, James White. Just lie.
Just tell me it's going great. Because if not, I'm going to start crying on the stream. Put my whole life into this. No, but I want to know how they genuinely feel it's going. What are they seeing working? What are they seeing not working? And what are they going to do to make those changes? I don't feel like we ever hear that, right? There is like this micro thing of like, hey, this release is going out, or hey, we have the greatest draft set ever. But like, I would just love to know, how do you guys feel going? Do you feel like you're getting the growth you desire? What do you feel like that'd be just such an interesting conversation
LSS
for me.
Is an extremely tight-lipped organization.
Really? They haven't talked to Louis once, so it makes sense.
Well, that's the biggest benefit they can say. Like that's the thing I support the most.
Don't talk to the largest YouTuber. It's fine. Largest is maybe not the word.
Noxious, is that you, Noxious? I didn't see you.
I probably have the most views per month, based on my research.
Like, listen, like I think that's something that LSS needs to work on. I think being tight-lipped. I think being tight-lipped long term really will hurt the game. I think you can see it with like Metazoo.
Well,
right?
Sure.
Like every 5 minutes you get mad at everyone.
Mike at everyone's how well done he likes his steak for dinner tonight. And like on the one hand, it's like, Mike, I don't need to know how you like your steak. On the other hand, I'm like, damn, I'm glad I know that information about you. I don't know why. But like, I read them. I'm like, okay, cool. Like, there's a connection there. Like, what Mike understands is like he is building a connection to his base that I don't think LSS has succeeded at yet.
Yeah.
Well, and I don't know if they want to. Like, I don't think James White desires that.
Well,
but I will also say, like,
that's
I
too
don't
bad.
think they're gonna. Well, I don't think they're gonna blatantly say, "Hey, you know, Mitch, like, we're not really happy with our growth. We're not like." I don't ever hear them saying that. But I'm more curious. Do they feel like they're just crushing it right now, or do they feel like, you know, like we had to slip up with Monarch? We're not really sure. We're still trying to figure out like what variables went into play to like do they feel like they're excelling in the TCG market? And probably like mathematically they might be, but like
the Duskblade
growth
ban,
wise,
the Duskblade ban article was really well done. They gave a lot of information. That was really well done. I would say in 2021 to have a successful business, I think you have to have a lot more of a personification of your business.
sure.
Even, I mean, look at Magic the Gathering. Mark
You should offer a
just
metric
crunching
ton
numbers.
of tails.
I would say you're just checking your numbers there.
I just got offered a metric ton of tails. Tails will be back for sale at Compete Sport next week, boys.
I think if you look at Magic the Gathering, Mark Rosewater is on all the message boards. He's answering questions. He does podcasts. He does interviews. He does all the things. If you look at Metazoo, Mike is on every single Pokemon streamer. He's on my channel. He's been on my channel. He's offered to be on my channel again. Like he's everywhere. And like, and in 2021, like I think you have to have a more personification so people can connect with your brand more. And I think LSS's model, and this will pass or fail, honestly, LSS's model is at the LGS. Like that, they want the person that you talk to at your LGS to be the ambassador for Flesh and Blood. We can roll that into the next conversation if you guys want.
Let me actually roll this into the Metazoo minute. We'll talk about Channel Fireball next week.
No. We're talking about Channel Fireball today.
I have a really good point about this. Okay, so let's talk quickly about Channel Fireball. Let me explain to you what I think. Let me explain to everybody what I think is happening.
Okay.
I think both LSS and Metazoo are realizing what all these poor souls who are authors have realized a year, for 5 years now with Amazon. Amazon is an extension of the author as much as they are a store. If I go to Amazon and something is $1 bajillion, I don't go, oh, Jeff Bezos ripping me off. Doesn't he have enough money? I'm like, why is the manufacturer of that product such a greedy jerk?
Yeah, it's a marketplace. It's not a store that's selling me this.
Right. And I think that this is like, let me be very clear here. I have no sympathy for these people. These companies did this to themselves. When they give a distributor, when they give a retailer exclusive promos, when they give exclusive, they give people bountiful numbers of boxes when stores have to scrap for theirs. Not me anymore. Thanks that email I just got. Shout out.
You're not scrapping for boxes anyway.
Not anymore. I was before that email.
Is it TOA to 500 now, or
TOA? Yeah. Mono 1K. I think they are rightfully viewed as an extension of the distributor, of the manufacturer, because manufacturers have said you are the chosen ones.
Yeah,
you are my blessed children.
This is another great Yazzie video. Yazzie calls Channel Fireball the face of Flesh and Blood in US.
Yeah,
that is the perspective. Let me just
remember
the perspective of a content creator is that Channel Fireball is the face of Flesh and Blood in the US, not the LGS.
And listen, he's not wrong.
Yeah, no, he's right.
He's not wrong. I'm trying not to get pissed off. You're not going to do it. You're not going to piss me off. It's working. It's not working.
I was just on a cruise. I got a great massage.
I got the best massage of my life on the cruise.
Actually did a Disney cruise massage too, and it was excellent.
It's amazing. I don't know what.
Excellent. Did you do hot stone?
Daylights out of me.
Did you do hot stone?
Did I do what?
The hot stone.
No.
I always do the hot stone. I've only done one massage in my life, but I did the massage, the hot stone 100% of the time.
I think that listen, I don't know. It's funny. I never heard of Yazzie before the boat comment. But now I have to watch all of his videos because He's my hero.
You need to go back and watch all of them. They're like a whole nother level of content creation.
Like he's not wrong. Like he's right when it comes to the new players that you're talking about, Louis.
Yeah.
This is a very big problem for both Metazoo and LSS, I think. And you can see them freaking out about this, right? You can see them reacting to this, right? And it's funny because it's going in opposite directions. Because like Mike is like, you got to stop charging $500 a booster box. You're killing me. Like you're giving LGS's permission to rip off my customers, and that doesn't feel good.
Yeah.
However, LSS I think has a much bigger problem, and this is what I've been saying all week. If LSS says my unlimited boxes are worth $40 a box, customers are going to believe them, and that's what Channel Fireball is now charging.
Yeah.
And there is nobody on this planet who gets more support from LSS that I'm aware of than Channel Fireball. I don't think it's unfair to say that action is at least tolerated, if not endorsed by LSS.
Again, I come back to this question. What is the intention of LSS? And I don't think that was their intention. The question is, they've gotten far away from their intention with the relationship with Channel Fireball, and how do they get back to their intention? That's the question. And are they able to, now that Channel Fireball runs the show?
That is the question that haunts me.
Yeah.
I'll be perfectly honest with you. There is no question that terrifies me more than that one. If customers now believe a box of unlimited should be $40, is there a way to convince them it should be $76.60?
Yeah. And for the viewers who don't know about this, basically last week's podcast, we talked about Channel Fireball was selling boxes. They were starting the bids at like 180. They were closing for like 188 for a case of Monarch, which should be sold at MAP for 306 or whatever it is. And then LSS put out a article saying you can't do that anymore. And then Channel Fireball changed their eBay account name.
Which I'm like, that doesn't change anything. It's the exact same ID, but it's fine.
Changed their eBay account name and then changed the listing to now it's, instead of one case of Monarch, it's a case of Monarch and a case of WTR, and the auctions are starting at 307, which technically doesn't violate MAP because they are selling Monarch for, essentially what they're doing is selling Monarch for MAP and then giving away a free case of WTR. But the heart of this is it ends up with a box at $40, which is considerably cheaper than we pay at distribution. Considerably cheaper. Like if I need to buy boxes, I'm just going to go to Channel Fireball.
And again, I will go
That's
back
actually
to
a valid point. I didn't think about that.
Of course,
like very, very much.
Why would I buy it? I should just buy all my boxes from Channel Fireball from here now.
Yeah. Right? Why would I not just take a 20% discount compared to distribution?
That sounds great. That's
around 20%.
I'm sure it's not actually 20% anyway.
Yeah.
Louis doesn't do math that well.
This is a very real problem for LSS, I think. Like this is like it's funny. Like I had some time to actually decompress and think about where I think the markets are headed. And I thought a lot about. Yeah, I mean, like, listen, like, this is what scares me about them.
You're not making me confident about my crew purchases this week.
I hope not. Like you might have won against Monarch, but you still lost the war.
Yeah, we all lost the war. We're all dead and bloody. Louis just happens to be holding a bloody box.
You guys might be losing legs after this though, or some limbs.
No, I got the channel, man.
Listen, like I think this is like goes back to like Mitch's point. Why is the store going to carry this game when I can't buy boxes for as little as Channel Fireball is selling them at?
Why am I carrying this game when there's another store selling it lower than I actually have to purchase it from distribution?
Right.
What's the point?
Right.
Not even another store, but probably
what does
the
that
store
do for singles?
Probably one of the stores that your new customers are going to come from, because the new customers.
Yes. I will tell you that I have very rarely been asked to price match Channel Fireball. The numbers of time I've been asked has spiked the last couple months because it's just gotten ridiculous. They're like, George, you're now twice the price. I'm like, I'm literally charging you as little as I'm allowed to charge you.
Right.
I literally can't charge you less.
They found a loophole, and I'm not a big enough jerk to go use it. And if you use that loophole, you'd actually lose money. But it's fine.
Something that, I'll be honest, like it is something that deeply concerns me.
Yep.
Like I'm not like no joke, no Mondo 1K, no MHA to 1K, which it will be. But
Did
like,
you just admit that Mondo 1K was a joke the whole time?
It'll happen eventually. I might be dead, but it'll happen.
It'll happen. Well, pinning, they actually fix this problem. I think what's interesting though is Channel Fireball fought back, and I think that's the fascinating.
Like this is like, I'll be honest, LSS and Channel Fireball, I think, are at war.
Did you guys see the Star City Games tournament?
Yes.
LSS is the sponsor.
It is of my belief that they partnered. I don't know if I use the word partnered, but they worked with Channel Fireball initially to lure in the Magic the Gathering people. And I feel like that, because there was a huge
I agree with you.
Magic.
I agree with you.
That was the strategy.
Yep.
But now here we are, and Channel Fireball is like, well, we are still a business and we need money, and your boxes aren't selling, so we're just gonna have to do what we need to do to liquidate this.
And their business, and they should.
And in their defense, in an LSS defense, I remember making the joke, I think our second or third podcast, that if I created a dog, I could name the promo My Ruby and I, and like Channel Fireball would be all in and buy it out. And you guys laughed at that. Now it's not so funny because now they're like, I want a Korra, I want sorcery, I want D-Spirits, I want Metazoo. I want it all. They want to be Amazon. Listen, they want to be Amazon for nerds.
I said this.
They just opened the marketplace today.
I'm fine with them being the Amazon for nerds, but then I get to critique you like Amazon.
Sure.
Like, if you want to be Amazon, fine. God bless.
And
but
I
like,
rather
listen,
buy.
There's no statues to Jeff Bezos. We all know he's a rich asshole.
It's true.
I rather
drives
buy
a Honda Civic.
I rather buy my boxes directly from LSS on Amazon than through Channel Fireball.
1,000%.
Yeah, like the better solution to this is just
some like. I know nobody from LSS will ever listen to this podcast. God help them if they do.
No.
Make me direct.
They probably don't.
Yeah.
That's not happening anymore.
No, that's not happening anymore. Podcast is done.
But like, this is something that should keep you up at night, and I mean that sincerely. Like, this is something that will hurt you long term, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And like, listen, like you can see like Mike working around this, right? Like even Mike, the GOAT executive, is trying to figure out how do you keep Channel Fireball in check. And I'll say this: he won his battle with Channel Fireball.
Yeah.
He won
apparently
his battle. He may not have lost. He may not win the war, but he's at least won this.
He won the first battle, and like Sasso doesn't lose very often. He didn't lose against LSS.
Not yet.
Not yet.
Y'all, I love how hopeful y'all are.
I lost a battle against Sasso.
When I was that age, I had hope in my heart too.
There was
the only thing I cared about was your airport. Your airport was the highlight of the vlog to me.
My airport.
When you were like, when you didn't have a stop sign to your airport, it was like a yield to your airport.
Yeah, it's nice.
That's
amazing,
actually.
Yeah. So, okay, are we ready for the Metazoo minute?
We did the Channel Fireball. We're good there.
I'm so ready.
Okay. So, as I said, I had some soul searching time on my boat. By the way, this shirt, I want to talk about the shirt real quick.
I want to hear it.
On the cruise boat, they had a Disney Hawaiian shirt, and I loved it. But it was $150.
What the hell?
It's a Tommy Bahama.
Did you say I only shop at?
Oh wait, I can actually disclose this. I actually own a lot of Disney stock. I actually have more Disney stock than I do in Flesh and Blood.
You have to disclose this?
Huh? Well, I'm about to tell a good Disney story, so I need to disclose at least like I'm biased like crazy because I have a lot of Disney stock. Disney stock to 1K.
Cruises are amazing. Do you mind me asking?
I had Disney stock. That was my Disney stock. Was my before Flesh and Blood. I sold all my Disney stock to buy
Wrong move. Wrong move.
That was my play money. Was Disney stock and Carnival Cruise stock. I put all my play money.
God.
I stopped buying magic boxes from Rudy. And this is before I had the store, and I bought Disney and Carnival Cruise. I made 40-50% off of them, and then I sold it all to buy Flesh and Blood. I mean, George, I'm talking like $3,000, dude.
We're not talking your amount of money in Disney.
I own real Disney.
That being said, I own real Disney stock.
I had real Disney stock. Even the little guy matters.
Real talk. Easy Robin Hood.
Yes, it was.
George, what deck did you stay on? Can I ask that? Like,
my
did
wife,
you stay in the nice one?
It was
did
nice.
Did you stay in the nice?
Yeah.
I remember somebody paying for me to go on a Disney cruise.
We had the private hot tub floor, whatever the floor that was, the concierge.
Yes, I was on that. Concierge is what it was. That is a next level Disney cruise experience if you're on the concierge level. I've lived that life.
All right, Wales, let's go.
You guys should all do it, and then also subscribe to Disney Plus.
I'm already on Disney Plus.
Good. Keep going. I want more.
I get free Disney Plus with my Hulu subscription.
Oh, okay, that's fine.
Yeah, it's the bundled. It's the bundle sub. Go ahead.
All right, continue. Metazoo minute.
So, I thought a lot about I'm going back to my Hawaiian shirt. Screw you both. I'm telling you the story.
All right, go ahead, Tommy Bahama.
I could not justify $150. I was going to buy it. I'll be honest. I was going to suck it up the last day and buy this $150 Hawaiian shirt.
And it pays dividends for you.
That is more money than all of my other Hawaiian shirts combined, literally.
I'm aware, but it'll also last the rest of your life, right?
So will all of them. I have had my George from Walmart Hawaiian shirts for 7 years.
George, that shirt would have not lasted you forever because it's probably made out of nice materials that you have to, take care of and dry clean.
Oh no! Everything I have goes in the wash. If it dies, it dies. So I go to the private island, and it's very nice. And they have this shirt for $50, but they only have kid sizes. Oh, so I'm like,
God.
Listen, I want that shirt, but I'm fat.
I need the biggest size possible.
No, sir, we only have size 3X. And I'm like,
let me try it.
I'll wear it. And so this shirt is I could fit 3 of me in this mother. My wife was like, it's a dress. I'm like, it's a dress for $50 versus $150 for a fit. Are you kidding me? For $100?
You're wearing a kid 3X. You should have gotten a 2X or 1X. Why?
They had this size. Look how big this is. Look how big this is.
George,
they have.
You should just said he lost weight.
Size.
Okay, Metazoo minute.
That's a great transition.
Screw you.
It's a great story.
I just can't believe that is a kid's 3X.
No.
It's kid's 3X.
They only had this and kid sizes.
I misunderstood. I thought you said that they only had kid sizes and it was a kid 3X. That makes sense.
I think it looks great on you.
George.
You tell people
literally fit 3 of me.
You should walk around and when people say, "Oh, hey," just say, "I lost weight. I lost
Bingo. The guy called me fat in the podcast on your comment section. I told him Metazoo be with you. It was fine.
Nice, good.
There's a guy called me fat. What the hell?
So here was my big takeaway from the Disney cruise as it relates to Metazoo and Flesh and Blood. Honestly, I think they both have challenges when it comes to characters. I think the difference is Mike knows this. Mike needs to find a way. I think Mike has leaned into the Mothman, which I think was it's a fan thing, right? It's not 09. It's not the most powerful card. It is something that the fans have shown a proclivity to love.
That's true.
Yeah.
And he has leaned into that hard, which I think is freaking brilliant.
Yeah.
That is exactly what I want the person who designs the card game to do. I hope he puts a Mothman in future sets to continue that storyline.
I'm sure I would be very
arts.
Yeah. I haven't seen the list of Nightfall, but I would be surprised if we don't see it in Nightfall.
Like the Charizard.
Really? Right? Listen, I think that'd be great.
I think we've seen a lot of spoilers of similar cards, right?
Is that true?
I think so. Maybe I'm showing how much I don't follow the spoilers. But
I think there's been a couple.
I don't think we've seen that.
Anyway, I agree with you. I hope in the next sets we see it more.
Mike should continue the storyline because people have shown a real connection to Mothman.
Yeah,
right.
People are all in on the Mothman.
Yep, I agree.
And I think there's a real incentive for Mike to continue that story and continue to build that passion, not only financially, but this is how you keep people engaged long term.
That's what Pokemon did.
Right.
I mean, you saw new ones, but they also came back to the old ones.
The Pin Club too. Yeah. At the Pin Club, it looks like there might be a Mothman in the Pin Club.
There is. I bought it. So
Oh no! For Nightfall, there's hidden ones that they haven't released, and one of the outlines looks like a Mothman.
Looks like a Mothman. That's all I do. I was hoping. like this is what when Magic does it right. This is what Magic does, right? Whenever there's a Liliana in the set, no matter how crappy Liliana is in that set, people go nuts.
Yeah. You have collectors
it's a Charizard.
who collect. Yeah. You will have people who collect all the Loveland Frogmans. Take Mothman out, but like
I hope Metazoo continues to build on that story and continue and like let the fans dictate the direction. And I think Mike is doing that, and I want to give kudos to Mike because I think that's really smart.
Yep, I agree. 100%.
Let me go one thing about LSS. This is something they need to improve on badly.
There's chase cards that we define.
Shiana was a crowd favorite. Mm-hmm. Thanks, Louie, for burning me on Shiana, by the way. It was a great card. Only card I lost money on in Flesh and Blood is the card Louie told me to buy. That's all you got to know. That's actually true.
That's actually both of us.
That's actually true. Thanks, Louie. You're doing great.
Fault. You bought all your other cards before they spiked in prices. Like,
I think LSS needs to find like. Imagine if there was a Shiana in this set.
The better example is Azalea, because nobody actually played Cheyenne, but people have been playing Azalea and got no support, and people are upset about that.
Yeah, I mean, like, no, I mean, I think it's both. I mean, like, I don't understand why the Duskblade was put in for lore, but you don't have a Shiana cold foil every 100 boxes that's like weird Shiana that's somehow different. Like
old Shiana.
Yeah, fine. Like
yeah, ability to play it in Classic Constructed.
Yeah. Like I don't understand the lore of Duskblade. Like I don't get like why isn't Shiana in like put her in the set? Come on, man, you're killing me.
Yeah.
Like
or why is
different variations of the tunic
or different Geminis? There's different Geminis.
Yes.
Somebody asked me when I got back home. I called them on the way home. And they were like, "Why did you call that Metazoo was going to take over the world?" I'm like, yeah, listen, like so far that looks like a good call so far. And my answer was like very simple. Mike listens to the consumer.
It's branding.
Mike listens to the consumer.
Yeah.
And like it's very funny. Like whenever I interview executives, if I'm on like a search committee, Lou, you'll never get picked. The biggest question you ask is tell me a time you disagree with your customers and how you handled that. Because if the answer isn't I gave in quickly and folded and listened to my customer because they keep me afloat and not the other way around, they're wrong for the job.
Yeah.
I think like this is what Mike fully understands. It does not matter if he did not intend Mothman to be the card from the set. It does not matter.
Playing into it.
He's like, this is the card from the set, and I will do all I can to support you with it.
Well, I think he probably made Mothman the one because it's from West Virginia, and I can go to the Mothman Museum and be happy.
That is like another downside of Mothman. I appreciate you sharing that.
I think that this comes down to two different games, man. Like,
no,
Metazoo.
No, it does not. No, it does not. I am sorry. This comes down to one company doing right.
I agree. Metazoo has branding, the genius behind branding. It's like he is the best brand ambassador or best ability to create a brand that I have seen in the last 5 to 10 years of different brands. Like it's amazing how he's been able to develop and create his brand. Never mind, like we didn't talk about Tops and all the other things like that.
Yep.
I don't think that that's the intention of Flesh and Blood, and that's where you're going to see. And I've been saying this since before I ever met George. Metazoo is going to be one of the biggest IPs in the TCG world.
Yes.
Flesh and Blood's not going to be one of the biggest IPs it might be one of the biggest games. It might be the most played game at an LGS. It's not going to be the IP. It's not going to be the brand.
Way too far away from
I don't think you can be a big game without a big IP anymore.
Well, and that's for another. You can have a million conversations about that. Metazoo is going to be a huge IP because Metazoo gets what IP and branding is. I mean, it's just different. It's two different games, guys. It's two different ideas.
I just want to give you credit where credit is due.
Here's the issue: is that like, if you're LSS, you can fix this. Like, put in Shiana. Like, listen, like I don't.
I agree.
Shiana love. I'll be honest.
Listen,
I don't.
I agree with what you're saying. I'm not disagreeing with you. I agree with all the things you're saying. I think this comes down to one is trying to be a different thing than the other. Metazoo is going to be an IP, and to be an IP, you need that. To be a trading card game, You just need people playing your game and the game to be good. Like that. I agree. The success looks very different.
Well, yeah, and that one will be one. I mean, like, listen, like, I don't think you can be a successful game without being a successful IP in 2021.
You cannot be what George decides is a successful game without that. You're correct.
Well, like, you can't grow without that.
Yep, I agree.
I guess if your definition is like a stagnant game, I guess you can succeed. I guess that's true, Louis. I apologize.
But again, like this comes back to what is the goal of LSS, and what we've been saying the whole podcast. The goal of LSS appears to be to utilize the growth at a local game store level, like in pockets, in groups. Like that seems to be the way it is. And you and I have different goals for LSS. I think I want Flesh and Blood to be the biggest trading card game of all time. That's what I want. I don't like. I'm sure that's their goal.
Why would I be opposed to that out of curiosity? My heart's rooting for you.
You and I both want that, is what I'm saying. But LSS might have,
you get there is different.
LSS has a different model than that. I think. Like I just think it's different, man. I think we expect too much sometimes. I think we expect different. Like their growth rate is I honestly think, Mitch, you asked earlier, if you ask LSS how do you think they're doing, they'd probably say we're doing really good. Our growth model is we've grown way faster than whatever we ever intended. Like I think that's probably realistically their intention. Me, I think, no, you're not the number one TCG, so you're not doing great yet. Like that's like I look at my channel and people are like, Louis, you must be super excited that your channel's reached 5,000 subscribers in a year. Like that must be really and I say, no, I didn't hit 50,000 subscribers. Like that's that's George and I's attitude. I think probably you too, Mitch. Like that's our attitude. And I just don't think I think that's the attitude of Mike. He wants to be the biggest IP. He wants to be on Forbes magazine, the number one IP in the collectible world in 2021. And he very well might be on that. I don't think that's the goal of LSS. I think we're talking about two different things here.
I don't disagree. I do think that our expectations for LSS seem to be different than their own expectations of themselves based on current actions.
Yep.
And that's not a negative statement. That's just saying that we're just aligned different on different outcomes. And that's partly the reason I want to reach out to them. It'd be really cool if there's like a year in review where they said, here are our expectations, or here are our hopes and dreams for this next year. And if it was just like a transparent, maybe even just for retailers, I don't care if you share with the players, but like, we want the game to grow by 20%. We want 20% more player growth. It'd be cool to see those things. We will never see that out of LSS probably.
We don't even know what the next set is.
That's true.
Kingdoms.
We have the entire, this is what I'm saying. For Metazoo, we have like 3 years.
The next 4 years, yeah.
And like it's just a different, guys, it's a different goal and a different business model and a different dynamic. This is completely different. And that's why I love covering both of them, because it's so much fun because they're completely different goals.
Yeah, I get you.
No, I agree with you, George. I want a better Cheyenne. I want a Cheyenne, and I want Azalea support.
This probably goes to our fundamental difference, where I think these two are in direct competition.
They are 100% in direct competition.
They are in direct competition.
One more time, say it again.
They are 100% in direct competition.
That's the first time I've heard him say it.
That's the first time I've gotten you to admit that on air.
I didn't say that you can't support both of them, or you can't have a store that supports both of them.
Yeah,
they are obviously competing. Doesn't mean it's a bet for. Sorry, they are 100% in competition from a collector standpoint.
Oh yeah,
I think,
it's very clear where
is it a competition if one is it still a competition out of curiosity?
I mean the playability, the players. I don't see a ton of Flesh and Blood players leaving Metazoo to play Metazoo. That's where the competition stuff stops. Again, they're two different brands. They're two different identities. Like
the
only thing they have in common is that they're both made of cardboard. But Metazoo is made of NFTs, and that's the most important part of Metazoo.
I think, listen, this goes back to the podcast that got me the most love of everything. Clearly, the third podcast where I was like, Mike just put LSS on notice.
Do you think that Metazoo success will ruin Flesh and Blood success?
Yeah.
Like, do you think it'll completely overshadow it? And within years, if Metazoo moons out, like Flesh and Blood will become half as popular as it could have been because of Metazoo.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, listen, like they're competing. In competition, one tends to win.
But what are they competing for? Like, what are the outcome they're winning?
Space and players and dollars.
Okay, and right now you're saying stores are going to be more likely to carry Metazoo because of why?
I'll ask you. I'll ask you. If you could trade, if you could call your distributor today. Listen, it's public. PhD is distributor for both games, and let's say your rep called you and said, "Hey, I had to cut you on Tails, but for every box of Tails I cut you, I'm getting you a box of Nightfall."
I'm all in.
Sounds great.
Oh,
listen.
Whoa.
Again,
how odd.
You're thinking two different things. You're talking about two different things.
You're talking about money.
You're talking about.
I'm talking about which one stores want to carry.
Right. You're talking about which ones actually want to be financially solvent.
If I was a store and I could take free money or over having to, that's fine. But that is not why I support Metazoo, and that's not why I support Flesh and Blood.
Right.
Like George, you're only thinking money. Like you're only thinking money from a store. If I had to say,
no,
who do I want? What do I want to support?
The collectability aspect of Metazoo too.
I know he does. I'm saying in this conversation, he's only thinking about money. But I think from a store perspective, fine. So like this is what I'm trying to say. You will not see Tolarian Community College and do a Metazoo video next week. Right, you're not going to see that.
All right, Mike, you have your challenge from Louie. Make it happen.
I would love that. You're not going to see that. You'll see Rudy do one because there's the collectability, the investment, all that side. They're not competing for same space. And I know that you're going to see Metazoo.
Well, they're competing for collector and investor space. They're not competing for player space, I would argue.
And I like in my opinion,
second edition could change that.
And I know that Metazoo has different goals. Again, LSS has different goals for Flesh and Blood than I have for Flesh and Blood. I want new players. I want casual gameplay. Like that is what, and Flesh and Blood is going competitive. I have different goals for Flesh and Blood that I do, and I have different goals for Metazoo. I want Metazoo to be a casual game that you can invest in and collect and have high value cards, and then have some fun with your wife and with your kids. Like that's what I want. I don't want the organized play structure and all this stuff. I plan on doing some Metazoo events in the Discord server, but like that's not going to be my focus. My focus for playing is going to be Flesh and Blood, and my focus for kind of the more casual fun stuff is going to be Metazoo. That's my personal opinion of where these two games are, and in that way they are not competing. But I might be wrong if that's the difference of the companies. So
all right, that's it.
Also, in George's words,
wrong.
I don't know how to run a store.
As always.
You're just done. We're just done. That's how we're just.
I mean, like, listen, like, I think, like, one's gonna win.
Okay.
I think they both can survive, but one's gonna win.
One's gonna come out.
100%. I agree with you.
We're completely.
No one's disagreeing with that, George.
I don't think at the end of the day, Flesh and Blood though is going to be dead.
Flesh and Blood does not die if the cards go down. If your heart,
that's not my argument. That's not what I said.
George, if your heart goes down to $2,000, Flesh and Blood does not die. The Flesh and Blood collectible market dies for sure, and I could. That might happen. And I might regret buying 5 boxes of Crew this week. That might happen. I might regret my eye purchase.
Buying 5 hearts, I'm just saying.
But I can almost guarantee you that there will still be people who are wanting to play games. There will still be people wanting to play games of Flesh and Blood. And meanwhile, Metazoo will be on. Like I'm saying, Metazoo is going to Mars. Metazoo will be on Jupiter. Okay, like I get that, and I'm there. But like
they'll have a TV show.
One doesn't die. One doesn't die when Metazoo succeeds.
McDonald's meals.
I'm not saying one will die. I'm saying one will become stagnant.
Yes. And by stagnant, you mean that player growth is minimal,
right?
Collectability market stale.
Right. Yeah,
I think you.
That's. I mean, like one of them is going to have that. One of them, that is the fate for one of them.
I think you can see player growth still happening in Flesh and Blood as the collectible market dies. Okay, we can just disagree. That's fine.
Okay, that was it. I gotta go. My wife's taking over the computer.
All right, bye everyone. Remember to be kind to the people around you. May
the
zoo
be kind
with
to
you,
people. May the zoo be with you, idiots.
And also with you, kind sir. I love you.
All right.